Участниками проекта являются Мухаммед Алиев Асланбек, Зайнураинов Рамазан и Байбусынова Алина. Тема проекта Kazakh Khanate in 15th and 18th century. The emergence of the Kazakh Khanate was a natural result of socio-economic and ethno-political processes in the vast territory of eastern Deshti, Kipchak, Simiriche, and Turkestan. The course of his education is connected with the Mogolistan and Khanate of Abu Khair. Cengiz Kere, descendants of Urus Khan, are authoritative Kazakh leaders. Constant wars, strife, raids of Oiras, Jungars caused great popular indignation. Therefore, since the end of the 50s, for 10 years as a protest, there has been a mass migration from Kipchak, Turkestan, Karatau to the west of Simiriche, the territory of Mogolistan. Cengiz Kere led the tribes leaving the Khanate of Abu Khair to the west of Mogolistan. The Kazakh Khanate first occupied the western Simiriche, the valleys of Chu, Talas, and Kozubayshe. When Yesen Buga died in 1462 and anarchy reigned in Mogolistan, the Kazakh Khanate arose. After the death of Shaybanid Abu Khair, the Kazakh Khans immediately joined the struggle for power in the steppe.
The active policy of the first Kazakh Khans was aimed at expanding the territory of the Khanate, as evidenced by historical materials. The process of gradual inclusion of the tribe and clans of the Semiriche into the Kazakh Khanate continued until the end of the 15th century. The main difference between the Khanates that emerged on the territory of Kazakhstan in the second half of the 15th century from the Golden Horde and similar state associations is that they arose not as a result of conquest but on a local economic and ethnic basis. It should be noted that the formation of the Kazakh Khanate was not a one-time act but a complex and lengthy multidimensional process where political and ethnic development went on simultaneously, and these directions interacted with each other. One of the fundamental principles of the social structure in the Kazakh Khanate was the hierarchy of clans and tribes. In medieval sources, in general terms, the nature of the Khan's power in society is defined as follows. The Khan is obliged to take care of his subjects, like a mother of her children. Specifically, the power of the Khan was determined by certain rights and was associated with the performance a number of functions.
The economic specialization of the owls on a community basis created only some prerequisites for capitalism. Under the influence of the penetration of capitalist relations in Kazakhstan, serious shifts are taking place. Productive forces are growing, agriculture and cattle breeding are developing, the population is increasing, new large settlements are emerging, all cities are growing. However, all these new phenomena in the life of the region were restrained and distorted by the colonial policy of Tsarism. Progress has been very relative. The nomadic and semi-nomadic owls suffered from a lack of development of capitalism until October of 1917.
Kazakh statehood is closely connected with its rulers, who, as a rule, combine the qualities of military leaders. In a stormy time, full of struggle and changes, the Burunduk Khan ruled in the Kazakh Khanate from 1480 till 1511. All the important events in the life of the Khanate of the last quarter of the 15th century were not without his participation. He personally led troops into battle and was repeatedly wounded in battles. Muslim chroniclers of this time describe Chipman Khan as a powerful sovereign. He was in power for more than 30 years, but failed to keep it in his hands for the rest of his life. The throne passed to Qasim Khan in 1511.
Kazakh Khanate under the Qasim Khan. Collector of Kazakh land, the power passed to the descendants of Janibek. Under him, the Kazakh Khanate reaches the greatest power. In 1510, Muhammad Shaybani again came to Signak and suffered a crushing defeat from Sultan Qasim. At the end of the year, he died in Khorasan in a battle with the Iranians. Under him, the borders of Kazakh Khanate reached Yaik, Sardaria, went beyond Olotau and Balkhar. For the first time after the Mongol invasion, almost all Kazakh clans and tribes were united in one state. The number of applicants was estimated at 1 million people, and the number of troops at 3,000. Embassy contact with the Moscow state had begun. In 1511, he adopted the first court law called Light Rov of Qasim Khan. Kazakhs became famous as Western Europe.
However, the death of Qasim Khan brought turmoil to the Kazakh Khanate, the longest occupied part of the lands in western and central Kazakhstan. The son of Qasim Mamash, who established himself on the throne in 1518 like his father, possessed the qualities of a brave warrior and a skillful commander. In another battle, Mama Khan died of suffocation. Another son of Qasim, Khanate Khan, referred to the sources as Khan of the Kazakh and Nogais, continued his father's policy trying to strengthen the Khanate. He attracted many Nogai borders to the side and annexed the lands on the left bank of the Urals. In folk legends, Khanate Khan is surrounded by glory, and not only among the Kazakh, but also among the Nogais, Kyrgyz, and Bashkirs. He died on the battlefield. After his death, Shigai got to the Khan's throne, who, with his sons, took an active part in the internecine strife on the Central Asian rulers, and in 1581 he took Khojent. He died at the age of 80 and was buried near Bukhara.
In conclusion, the Kazakh Khanate was formed during complex historical processes at the junction of continents and civilizations. In general, it was an objective and natural result of the political development of society and ethnos on its own basis. Political and socio-economic processes, overcoming the difficulties of internal and external origin, brought the Khanate to a number of stable states.